Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Chase. Hope you're enjoying your staycation. Today we are talking about chicken stock. So grab a drink and let's get cooking. Okay, so today is the first part of a two-part series on stocks and soups. So we are making a super basic chicken stock today. Out of this, you could make a chicken noodle soup, obviously. You could also just keep that stock on hand and use it in making a ramen broth, like we had. If you wanted to kind of make a souped up ramen like we did yesterday, you could use it for that. You could use this in a mushroom soup just as the chicken stock. It's a great thing to have on hand. This freezes super well, so it's kind of good to do a bigger batch and then freeze some of it. You're not going to use it all the way, and you can just pull it out as you need it. It holds super well because it's mostly water. So I started this about an hour ago, just so you guys weren't watching chicken cook. But let's talk about stock. So, in this pot, I have 2 whole chickens. I got 2 because, like I said, you kind of want to make this in volume, just because it's not a lot of work, but it is a lot of time. So it's better off just kind of do it every once in a while, then freeze the rest of it. And I have 2 of these whole fryer chickens. Whole chickens are best because you get the most bone, but if you can't find whole chickens or they're really expensive and like the quarter chickens are on sale or chicken thighs, anything that has a lot of bone, cartilage on it will work great for this. Whatever your cheapest option is. The easiest thing to kind of work with is a whole chicken though. And I put these on maybe 10 to 4. Got them up to a boil as quickly as possible. So you want to get it on high heat till it comes up to a boil. And then you want to turn down the heat. And all you're looking for when you're cooking these chickens is, you can see these slow bubbles kind of coming through. I don't know if those are showing up in camera. Mm-hmm. Perfect. That's all you're looking for. So right now, our goal is to cook the chicken meat. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull these out of the stock at this point. We're going to pick off all the meat because the meat is cooked perfectly. It's not over. And then we're going to take the bones and the skin and all of the leftover bits. We're going to add that back to the water. We're going to add our vegetables. And we're going to let that cook again. And that's going to make our actual chicken stock. And then tomorrow when we come back, we'll strain it off and we'll make a chicken soup out of it. But I want to get this whole process started. So also as you're cooking, you just want to be keeping an eye on, you're getting a lot of these bubbles, this scum that comes up to the top of the surface. This is impurities in the chicken meat. If there was a little bit of leftover blood or something on the bones, all of that will kind of come to the top. And this is what you're looking for when you take the chickens out. Is a very clean. There's not a lot of scum. There's a little bit of bubbles. That's okay. Nice and clear. You should be able to see through it. And that's how you know you've done a good job kind of skimming. And not a ton will come up, but this stuff tastes terrible. So you really want to make sure you get this out of your stock as quickly as possible. So, how do you know if your chickens are done? Well, what you're looking for is, I've got tongs, and they're just holding together, but I can very easily tear them apart. So this is a sign that your meat isn't overcooked. Because if you just continually boil this, the meat will get dry. Like, I'm sure we've all had those chicken soups. They've been sitting too long and like the meat's soft, but it's kind of like crumbly and mushy in your mouth. That's just overboiled meat. We're not looking for that. So what you're going to do, just grab a big bowl. Carefully, because that liquid's hot. Just kind of going to take out this chicken. The easiest way to do that is there's the cavity. And just be careful here. If it's really tender, you've cooked it just a little too long, these bits can fall off and the water can splash back. And there's quite a bit of chicken fat on the surface. And that can be, I've done it, it's not super comfortable. So you're going to take these carcasses out. They look pretty terrible right now because it's just boiled chicken. But we're going to make this taste a whole lot better in a minute here. here. So this is a lot of chicken to pick down. It's also really hot. So I'm just going to pick down a little bit to show you guys kind of what you're looking for, how to season the meat to hold it. And then from there, we'll show the veg, kind of get that going. So as it is so hot, I'm just going to kind of use tongs right now. And start just picking off, and it should pick off super easily. All these big pieces, and I'm just trying to separate it because normally I would let this cool down. I'd let this sit for 15-20 minutes, but you guys don't really want to watch chicken cool. So I'm just trying to get some of this meat separated. I'm going to throw it in the fridge for a couple minutes just to get it cool enough to work with here. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to throw this in the fridge for a couple minutes while we talk about veg. Okay, so the other part of a stock, you got your meat, whatever that is. In this case it's chicken. Second component is your vegetables. Now we're going for just kind of a classic, very simple chicken stock. If you wanted to do something with a bit more of a Asian flair, you could put ginger in here. Put a lot more garlic. This is what I had in the fridge right now, so that's what we're doing. So primarily when you're talking about stocks, you want to use white onions. Doesn't matter if they're Spanish or daily, whatever. It's just red onions tend to stain your stock kind of purpley, and the color gets a little weird. That being said, I had some leftover red onion in my fridge, and because this is the best time to use up any old carrots or onions or anything you have, I'm not going to worry about throwing half a red onion in there. It's not going to stain the stock. And then with carrots, you don't have to peel them. Just give them a rinse. I'm just going to cut the tops off. Because these are pulled from the ground, right? So if they're this clean, you're just pulling off material, and there's actually a lot of like nice flavor in the carrot skin. So just take the tops off, and I just cut them into kind of bigger cubes. They're going to be cooking for a lot of hours. So if you cut your veg too small, that's the reason why I'm not slicing these onions. If they go so small, they'll just boil and dissolve into your into the stock. What you're really looking for is an extraction of flavor. Same thing with the carrots. If they go too small, they tend to dissolve and they change the color, and it's not exactly. We're looking to pull that sweetness, that vegetal flavor out. We're not looking on like tinting the broth at all. So again, just taking the tips off, cutting them into roughly a couple inch pieces. I had half a carrot that I would mandolin. This is what I used when I did the ramen yesterday. So again, this is if you have any veg in your fridge, this is the time to use it up. And I had some scallions that were starting to go pretty wilty. Not great to eat, perfect for stock. Still got tons of flavor. Okay.
Question, how many onions are you putting in?
This depends on, there's no right or wrong answer, really. It's the size of your chicken, how much water in there, even how long you boil it. You know, again, for cooking at home, I would say 4 or 5 onions would be great. If they're small, 2 onions. If they're really big, those really big Spanish onions you get. But it's not, I wouldn't worry about that too much. If you only have 1 onion, you're still so much better off making the stock at home than you would be buying chicken stock in the store. That like just use an onion and put more carrot in. You know, and if you have leeks or leek tops are fantastic in there. I should have celery, but I forgot to get it at the store, and I wasn't going to go out and buy celery because we're supposed to be staying home. So I'm just not going to use celery, right? I wish I had fresh thyme, but I don't have fresh thyme, and I'm not going to go out. I don't have bay leaves. Like, I'm missing a lot of the stuff that I would be cooking with in a kitchen. And if I was in a restaurant and I was, had people coming in paying for food, I would be really stressed out. But the whole point of these videos and the whole reason I kind of started doing this was to make good food with what you had available, and also just to take some of the stress and anxiety out of like making some of this food at home. You're cooking for your friends and family, and you're making chicken stock from scratch. Like, you are miles ahead of most of the general public right now if you're making this. So if you only have 1 carrot and half an onion, you're still doing fantastic. For this, that's the long answer. The short answer is, for this amount of water and 2 chickens, I'm using about 5 small onions. Okay, so we got our vegetables ready here. I'm not going to put them in quite yet. I'm going to pick down some of this meat, which hopefully has cooled off. I'm not going to burn my fingers too much. Okay. Oh, it hasn't cooled off at all. Alright, burning my fingers for you guys. So, you want to get all of the skin back into this pot. But all of the meat, so hot. All of the meat off the bone, trying to get to that. But because you're not using this isn't going into the garbage now. If there's a little bit of meat left, like you can go through and pick off as much as you can. It's all that flavor is going back into your stock, right? So like this end piece here with that cartilage, that's so good, it's going back in. It's still so hard. Again, I'm just going to pick down a little bit right now. Mostly because it's really boring to watch someone pick chicken meat. Also, it's incredibly hot.
What about dried thyme? Would you consider adding that in?
Absolutely. Don't have it. If you do, throw it in there. Dry thyme.
Same with dried bay leaves?
Same with dried bay leaves. You should absolutely be throwing that in there. I just do not have it. And like, oregano would be great too if you wanted to do that. Like, if you wanted to go for... if you were, let's say you knew you were going to make this into like a more Asian inspired broth, and I say Asian being like a pho, Chinese noodle, ramen-ish. One of the sneaky things in those broths is cinnamon. It doesn't take a lot, but just a little bit of cinnamon goes a long way. It adds this really beautiful sweetness. So like right here, I know there's still meat on there. I am not worried. That is just pure flavor right there. That's all going in there. So it's almost better in some ways to leave a little bit of the meat on because it adds a nice dimension of flavor to your stock. Now, am I only saying that because I'm burning my fingers off? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. For now, that is good. Okay. So, once this video is done, I'm obviously going to pick down the rest of this chicken and add it into the stock. For right now, we're just going to go with this. So I've got some white meat, and we're just shredding it pretty rough here. And I just added a little bit of salt. I forgot to mention that. When I was boiling the chicken, maybe a tablespoon of salt. We're going to worry about seasoning much further along the process, but it's just you want to get the stock's absorbing a little bit into the chicken, so you want to just get a little bit of seasoning in there. So you get some beautiful picked meat. And then once I pick all of this down, that will go into there, and we'll take all of this, and we're adding this right back into the stock. Then we're going to add all of our vegetables. And just be careful dropping it in. There's chicken fat on top of this. It gets really hot, so you want to go really low to the water with the bowl. You can almost get the bowl in the water, and then you don't get any splashback. You're not dropping vegetables and stuff flying. You get a bunch of chicken fat everywhere. Here.
What about star anise?
Star anise is great. Again, wash my hands here real quick. Again, this is just a super basic starting point. Knowing what you're going to do with it, changes a lot of stuff, right? If you're going in those Asian flavors, those star anise, cinnamon, clove, even a little bit of clove, kind of takes it into that Vietnamese range. If you want to go China, like kind of more of a Chinese soup, I would add a lot more leek as opposed to onion. But again, like we're cooking with what we have at home. This is what I had. That's what we get. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to let this simmer. Because we're going to come back tomorrow, I'm going to show you what it looks like. We're going to strain it off, deal with all that. I'm going to let this go really gently overnight. If you're doing this all in one day, you can... don't worry about this temperature here. What we're just looking for is just gentle bubbles, just like with the chicken. See how there's just like a slow bubble coming up through? That's what we're looking for. And don't skim any of the fat off. You skim the bubbles, but that fat, when you're dealing with stocks, that fat actually creates almost like a pressure cooker underneath. Because the heat can't escape through it, and it helps extract a ton of flavor from your bones. And plus, chicken fat is a super delicious, super useful thing to have on hand. So I keep, when we go to do it, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but we'll skim this off tomorrow, set it aside, and a lot of times I'll actually take a scoop of it and put it back to the bottom of the bowl of soup, or add some of that fat back in. But don't skim the fat off. So, okay, pull this off to the side here for now. So, you've picked down all of your chicken meat. You have some beer. Now, what you're going to do with this depends again on what type of soup you're making. If you're just making a chicken stock because you had leftover bones or something like that from cooking chicken the night before and you want to use them. So you want some way just to kind of season this and hold this. So all I'm going to do right now, because we don't know what we're doing with this, is you want to add some fat back onto this to help hold. So I've just got some olive oil. Just going to add a little bit of olive oil on top. A little bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. Now, if you were going and you wanted to make like pho, you had some soy sauce, you had some sesame oil, you could add a little bit of fish sauce. All of those flavor profiles we talked about with the ramen, you could add that in. You could dice up garlic. You could dice up garlic in here. If you didn't want to put this in a soup and you just wanted it for sandwiches, you could put some barbecue sauce on, put it in the fridge, microwave it for some shredded chicken barbecue sandwiches or something. This is super versatile. For me, all I'm doing right now is just getting, because you always want to season warm. Like the chicken is kind of, as it's cooling, there's an exchange of heat and kind of pulling things in from the outside of the meat to the center. So that's when you want to salt. And that's true of anything, right? It helps the salt kind of absorb. So I'm not worried too much about if this is, that's fine. If I was putting this on a plate right now, I'd probably add more salt. But because this is just going in the fridge, there's enough seasoning in it right now. So, not a lot in today's video, but
it's to simmer uncovered overnight, or are you going to cover it?
Probably leave it uncovered. That's fine. I mean, you can keep it covered if you're worried about things going in there. Just you're going to have to lower your heat because it kind of holds everything in. I like to be able to uncover it because every time I walk by, give it a look, make sure it's doing the right thing. But again, that's a bit of a preference. Yeah, so we didn't do a whole lot in today's video, but learning to make stock is a great foundation for a whole bunch of other things. It's a great way to use that things in your fridge. And if you've never made a chicken stock before and you go through this process and you taste it, the difference between this and a store-bought stock is pretty monumental. It's a whole thing. And anything you make with this is going to be a heck of a lot better than things you're getting from the store. So thanks for tuning in. If you cooked along or making the recipes, be sure to tag me at Chase Rose. Hashtag Cooking with Chase. Stay safe, eat well. See you tomorrow for the conclusion of our 2-part series, Making Chicken Soup.